Hey everyone, Lindsay here with Heritage Stables, and I am going to do a quick video on why and how bridling your horse can and be easy. I did a video several months ago, maybe even a couple years ago now, on just demonstrating how easy it is for me to bridle my horses, and I got a pretty good amount of feedback about it, and I had a client, actually Heather, out at Sportive Horses Park. Great park, check it out. Has opened here in Snow Camp, North Carolina. And they're opening this show season with schooling shows in dressage and combined tests. Last year they had a great schooling show series of dressage shows. They're adding combined tests this year. Check it out. Anyway, she was asking me for that video, and we were talking about just messaging back and forth about that video, and maybe I should go back and do one, not just showing how easy it is for me to bridle my horses, but how I accomplished that with my horses. So I'm just going to go back and recap that here. And I'm in a stall here with my main squeeze, Sonny, over here. He's awesome. And I'm starting out in the stall because I teach my horses to bridle and halter very, very easily. And the two things that I see missing with most people when they're trying to put their halter on the horse, either in the stall or out in the pasture, or when they're trying to put their bridle on, is there's usually two things missing. One, there's some prior training that's missing, and two, they're just not setting themselves up for success as far as how they're handling the equipment. So I love to start out with my horses, teaching them to put their halter on really well. I know, you're good. So we're going to do a quick demonstration about that. When I go out to catch my horses, I have my halter, first and foremost. Can you step over here a little bit, buddy? Really neatly organized. I've got my lead rope kind of looped here behind it, just set over the crown piece. I know where my crown piece is. So when I walk out to the field, I know that I can just pull this apart. I've got my lead rope and my halter, one in each hand. And the first thing I do, honestly, is I just put the lead rope around the neck so that I can keep the horse here, okay, with me. The second thing I do is I have the crown piece and I just put it over to my right hand, and he's super easy because he knows the drill. He practically puts it on for me now, but I take that in my right hand and slip it back over his head. The two things that I do to teach a horse that, and this is not me necessarily, I've modified it a little bit, but most of these principles I learned from the Pirelli Natural Horsemanship. Pat Linda Pirelli's training system. They have a great system as far as teaching horses to be really cooperative with everyday things like this that sometimes they're really not. You may see a lot of horses out there that I see a lot of horses out there that are not cooperative for catching, putting the halter on, or bridling. And I think it doesn't have to be that way. Obviously, I just demonstrated it doesn't have to be that way. So the first thing as far as your prior training to set yourself up for success is teach your horses to lower their heads when you put pressure on we call it the pole, this area right here between their ears and kind of behind their ears a little bit where the crown piece of the halter or bridle are going to sit. Teach them to drop their head down when you put pressure on that area with your hand, okay? And this is going to come in handy in a lot of different areas. First of all, it'll teach them to lower, if you have a really tall, warm blood like Sonny. He's only about 16'1", but he's got a great neck set on him. So this horse, if he doesn't like what you're doing, he can turn himself into an 18-hand giraffe if he wants to, because of his neck set. His nose can go straight out. So teaching him just a simple little technique like that to put his head down for me was super helpful. The other thing is I just reward them. If they do it well, give them a reward. He really likes face rubs, so sometimes that's a good reward too. Just scratching their face. Give them something like that you know they like, so that they want to cooperate with you. The other two areas that I see teaching this kind of pressure point really coming in handy is tying horses up, either to trailers or just tying them up in the barn. If they've learned to give to that kind of pressure rather than panic, if they get kind of caught either in the cross ties or they pull back at the trailer, and they've learned to step forward or to drop their head away from that pressure instead of just panicking, pulling back, that can really be a lifesaver if you're in that situation and they start to pull it tight, and then you'll see they're kind of go, oh, and they'll step forward instead of pulling back and snapping the halter or the lead rope or your cross ties or whatever. The other area that I see it really come in handy is hand grazing. We've all probably been in that situation where you're hand grazing your horse and they step on the lead rope. And what do? They normally kind of freak out a little bit and sit back, and they're pulling and they're trying to get the lead rope out from underneath their feet. But I have several horses now. First of all, they know when they step on it, they move their foot. And second of all, if they step on it and they give it a little tug, rather than panicking, they just drop their head and then move their foot. So two other areas where teaching your horse this little pressure point can really save your bacon, okay? So from there, we're going to step out into the alleyway here and talk about bridling and how to set yourself up for success with that. So let me just grab the camera here, and we'll step out the door. Come on, buddy. Set that right there. Hopefully you guys can see. I usually just let my lead rope sit on the horse's neck, pretty high up here right behind the crown piece of the halter, just because if they do, for any reason, snap their cross ties or get frightened for any reason and I have to pop the cross ties off or I just need to leave in a hurry, then the lead rope's already there and I haven't taken it off, okay? So let me step over here and get my bridle and my helmet, because the other thing that I see people do that it doesn't have to be this complicated is they forget to put their helmet on before they put their bridle on, okay? And that, then you're trying to hold your horse and put your helmet on, and if you have hair of any degree of length like me, then you've got to drop your ponytail down, and then that just starts to get a little bit complicated because you're trying to hold your horse, and not every horse is super duper patient to just stand there with you. So the first thing you want to do is get your helmet on so you're ready to go. That way you just get your equipment and you go out the door. So I usually like to take my dressage whip and set it by the door, because then it's just sitting right there for me, ready to go out the door. After I put my bridle on, we just walk out and do that. So this is where we've talked about the training. This is where we start talking about the preparation, just having your helmet on. If you want to wear spurs, having your spurs on. If you know you're going to want to carry a whip, go ahead and get your whip and set it out somewhere where it's easy to reach. And then get your bridle, okay? I've got a couple little treats in my back pocket here because these Piper breeches are full of pockets, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Love them. All right. My bridle has been figure-8'd wonderfully by one of those students. So it's all ready to go. So I opened up my bridle out of its figure-8 and I made sure that everything's kind of not tangled up. Got my reins with my buckle right here. I'm going to set all of this on my left wrist, okay? This is some of your preparation that I was talking about. Reins, everything right there on my left wrist, okay? So this is where we start to get into the preparation. From here, I'm just taking this left hand and I'm just kind of cupping with a little bit of a hook with my hand here, his noseband. So I have him under control. I'm just popping these cross ties off. And then easy peasy, I've got these reins right here and they just go right around his head. I don't have to let go of him. I don't have to move my hand at all. And I've already got the reins around his head. So then I'm going to unsnap the throat latch of his halter, slip that off his head, hang it on my handy hook right over here. Sometimes he likes to get a little face rub before. I think I did that for him in the stall, so he's maybe not that interested in it. He's already ready for his bridle. So the nice kind of fascinating thing is if you reward your horses regularly for putting their bridle on, they get to the point where they want you to put the bridle on. I'm not going to have to put a lot of pressure on him to put his head down. I pretty much am going to hold this bridle out here, and he's basically putting it on one-handed. I didn't even have to use 2 hands to do that, okay? So then he gets his reward, a little chunk of apple here. And then while he's chewing that up, I'm just going to make sure that my brow band is straight right here. And I'm going to buckle my throat latch up first, simply because this is what keeps the bridle from coming back up over the horse's head normally. You want this loose, about 3 fingers underneath the jaw right here. You can kind of see. And I'm doing this first because he's busy chewing up his apple. So that wouldn't be very fair for me to be like, here's a piece of apple, let me strap your nose shut, you know, while you're trying to chew that up. So I do the throat latch first to give him some time to kind of enjoy his little treat there. Just make sure his mane isn't all caught around it or straight. Always make sure you tuck the noseband to the inside of the cheek pieces so you don't strap the bit down accidentally. Tucking it in there and there, straighten it up. The noseband we want pretty tight. I usually just use the term snug when I'm describing how I want the noseband done. Easy, buddy. There we go. Good boy. And by snug, I just mean like it's pretty tight. We've got about 2 fingers under each of the cheekbones there. and I can get a finger in on the bridge of his nose, okay? But it's pretty snug. I have to kind of wiggle my finger in. And you can see he's got some movement through his jaw, and I want that movement through his jaw so that he can bend and shift his jaw a little bit left and right while we're bending and suppling and doing our lateral work and things like that. He has to be able to move his jaw around to participate in that with me. And then second of all, I like to reward my horses. So if I give him a little reward for doing something well while we're out riding, I want him to be able to chew that up and enjoy it. So now I'm going to do up his flash. Same principle, snug, but not, you know, we're not locking their mouth shut. It's just snug. And sometimes Sonny goes above and beyond, and he's like really, really helpful and keeps his head down almost too low while I'm buckling all of this on. But I'm happy for the willingness. So a couple of principles as far as that looking like super duper easy. I just hold my hand out there and all of that. When horses are making the transition from learning, you know, the pressure point to lower their head, when I'm teaching them this, I'll hold the crown piece in the right hand and have the treat in the left, and just hold the treat under the bit. They have to take the bit into their mouth first and then they get the treat, and that starts to develop that process of, oh, I need to reach out, put that bit in my mouth, and then I'm rewarded for it. And then as you can see, the full effect is they realize, I'm just going to put this on because then she's going to give me something nice. Okay? So, and I really like that for two reasons. One, it enables the animal, the horse starts to participate in this with you. You're not like sort of bridling the horse. It's not something that's being done to them. They're helping you. They're participating in it. They want to be a part of it in a positive way. And then second, from a dressage trainer's perspective, I like the fact that from the very first contact, literally, that they have with the bit, their very first impression of the bit every ride is that they want to reach out and take that contact with the bit. They want to reach out and put that in their mouth and do that. And they want to help me with that. Okay, because in dressage, reaching for the contact and accepting the contact is huge. We talk about it a lot. If dressage isn't your thing, it's basically just the principle of the horse accepting the contact of the bit on his tongue, on the corners of his mouth, and willingly allowing you to guide him with that and reaching for it and not kind of curling up and hiding from it or lugging into it real heavy and resisting. So anyway, I like the fact that their very first association with the bit every ride is a positive one because they're reaching out for it. So lots of different principles for why bridling your horse can and why I think it also should be easy. And hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Check out the comments because I'll be posting some other videos of some of my younger horses or greener horses as they're kind of in the process of learning how to do this. This obviously, this is kind of the finished product. You just hold your hand out and the horse puts it on. But I've got a couple of other horses that are working their way through this process. They're at different stages of that learning, and I'm going to do a couple shorter videos of those and put them in the comments below this video. So make sure you check back for some of those to kind of see the whole process in its full circle, full evolution basically of the training. So there you have it, folks.